Great, so let's get everybody else into the Nearpod. Again, I have Shaquasia, Arabia, Ciara, Eddie, Giovanni, Jalasia, Samaj, and Kia in the Nearpod. So I'm waiting on several people. There are 12 other people on this call, so I should have 12 people in Nearpod. Okie dokie, let's go ahead and get started. As always, our APUSH norms is we are all in. Attendance and cold call responses will be impacting a quiz grade. Your Zoom expectations, videos on, microphones off, and only chat when prompted. You guys are great at this, not too worried. Google Classroom is where you're going to find all of your assignments in Nearpod. Something I want to address is I am missing a lot of homework that was due yesterday. Please, please, please do the homework. You only get one homework assignment a week for this class, and it's not just homework for the sake of homework. You need to do that pre-reading of the textbook in order to be as successful as possible in this class. So make sure you're taking those notes. It is impacting your grade, and unfortunately there are a lot of zeros going into your grade that I do not want to put in. So please do the homework. It's pretty simple. If you take 5 pages of thorough Cornell notes, you get an automatic 100. Please, please, please do those Cornell notes. And finally, make sure you have a constructive learning space set up, use a Chromebook, and gather any materials that you might need. For today's agenda, can you please read our agenda, Arabia?
Norms and agenda, do now, oral drill, doc analysis, discourse, and exit ticket.
Great. And Eddie, can you please read our materials that we need for today?
Norms and agenda, do now, oral drill, doc analysis, discourse, exit ticket.
Great. Sorry, I think I read those out of order, but thank you guys very much. And we are going to get started on the do now. Today, your do now is page 1 of your classwork, page 1. I'll give you 30 seconds to get your class packet pulled up. Again, the do now is page 1 of your class packet. Great, we should be there. We are going to take the next 5 minutes for the do now. I will be popping in and out of the Google Docs in your assignment to see what kind of progress we are making. So 5 minutes on the clock for your do now. Go ahead and get started. Four more minutes on the do now. 2.5 minutes. One more minute. Thirty more seconds. Go and finish up your thoughts. Great, and that's been 5 minutes. Go ahead and take the next 15 seconds to finish whatever thought you were on. Great. So what is the main idea of this passage? I'll take a hand. The main idea. What is Zinn trying to argue? Shakeem.
I thought the main idea of the passage was that the governor and the council feared the Bacon Rebellion because it united the black slaves and the poor white American farmers.
Yes, exactly. Shakeem just hit the main point. The reason why the Bacon's Rebellion scared rich white people is because it saw a unity about class, which is poor white farmers and poor enslaved Africans, as opposed to the white people just automatically identifying with the wealthy. And so their big concern after Bacon's Rebellion is realizing, oh no, these people aren't on our side. So how do we make these poor whites side with us instead of this enslaved Africans? And that is what we are going to be focusing on today. But before we do that, we are going to transition back to the Nearpod. You are going to have 3 minutes to fill in the blank. 3 minutes. Go ahead and get started. Let's see how many perfect scores we can get today. I have one perfect score from Shakeem. Great, I have responses from Ciara, Shakeem, and Mahmoud. 45 more seconds. out of 13 from Arabia, Takia, Jalasia. Some other really high scores, like 11 out of 13 from Caleb and Ciara. That's awesome. "15 more seconds. Go ahead and finish up. Go ahead and put in those last terms. Great, just waiting on a couple. Another perfect score from Skyanne. Awesome job, you guys. Love the practice. And even if you did not get a score that you absolutely love, it is something that the more you do it, the better you're going to get. So we are going to move on to what our class is going to be about today, which is the Bacon's Rebellion. And as we discussed with when Shakeem shared his response to the main idea, is that Bacon's Rebellion unified poor white people with enslaved African Americans or Africans, which concerned the wealthy white class. And so to combat this, the wealthy gave amnesty to the poor whites instead of the enslaved Africans to try to create unity among race instead of creating a social unity based off of economic or socioeconomic status. And today we're going to really zoom in on the impact of Bacon's Rebellion and what kind of impact it had on the future of America, particularly in the creation of racism. So we are going to be reading slightly different sources today. We are going to zoom in on the works of some really prevalent historians when it comes to this idea of slavery and race theory. And I'm really interested to see what kind of insights you guys have. So we are going to read and annotate the very first passage, which you can find on page 2 of your class packet by Robin Kelly. You are going to take 5 minutes to read her passage and to answer her question, what role did Bacon's Rebellion play in the development of race-based slavery? Again, you can find this on page 2 of your classwork document. 5 minutes to read and annotate and answer that first question. Any questions? Great. If you come up with any questions, feel free to reach out to me via chat and I will answer them as quickly as possible. You have 5 minutes to read this passage. It's okay if you're a little unsure, just do your best. 5 minutes on the clock. Go ahead and get started. Again, I will be popping in and out of your classwork document on Google Classroom. 2.5 more minutes on this first passage. Ninety more seconds. Thirty more seconds. Please use the raise hand feature on Zoom if you need like 1 more minute. Okay. Okay, that's definitely a lot of you. I'm going to give you guys 1 more minute. I know that these are different types of passages. 1 more minute to read this and answer the question. Again, make sure you're not just reading and annotating the passage, but you're also answering that question. Okay, originally I had planned to send you guys to breakout rooms. However, I don't think we have enough time to do that. So we are going to stay whole group. So according to, first passage is Kelly. According to Kelly, what role did Bacon's Rebellion play in the creation or development of a race-based slavery? So what role did it have in the creation of a race-based slavery? Starting with Leah.
I'm not sure.
What's your best guess?
I don't don't know.
Okay, here, then let's break that down. Leah, how does this relate to the do now? Leah, how does this relate to the do now?
I don't know.
Okay, and via the chat, please just chat me what you responded to, how you responded to the question, and I will look at it via chat. Okay, so what role does Kelly look at with Bacon's Rebellion and its role in the creation of slavery? Shakeem, I saw your hand up.
They decide to, well, government decides to make more laws that punish the interactions of Africans with the white people.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so that's the big thing is like before this, there were no laws banning interracial relationships. There were no laws banning the communication of whites and blacks. But after Bacon's Rebellion, they realized that they need to create some sense of separation. We are now going to transition to the second passage by Berlin. Same thing, you're gonna have 5 minutes, it's a bit shorter, to read and answer the same question just from Berlin's perspective. So what role did Bacon's Rebellion play in the development of race-based slavery? When you come back, please be prepared to respond to that question if I cold call you. You have 5 minutes on the clock to read this next passage. Go ahead and get started. 1 more minute. Great, 15 seconds to finish up your thoughts. So in Berlin's passage, she says some stuff that's really similar to Kelly, but it is slightly different. So according to Berlin, what role did Bacon's rebellion play in the development of race-based slavery? Please respond, Ciara.
So I said that she states that the idea of slavery and freedom towards certain people had developed after the rebellion.
Yes, because as you guys remember from Mr. Quinn's class, slavery itself has existed like forever. As long as humanity's been around, there's been some form of slavery. It's in America that we create a race-based slavery system. And that's what makes American slavery really unique. Something I really want to point to is looking at your passage. It is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's the 7th line from the bottom. And there is a sentence that says that increased power is not equality. That increased power that poor whites have does not equal equality. What does that mean to you? Please take the next minute to respond via Zoom chat. So again, via Zoom chat, what does that line mean to you? Increased power does not mean equality. Take another 30 seconds. Great responses, Shakeem and Leah. I love these themes that I'm saying. Giovanni, I really like this idea that just because somebody's given more power doesn't mean it stops discrimination against them. Great, so we are going to pause there. Please send whatever responses you were able to type so I can track those for points. So that is the big thing with Bacon's Rebellion, is you have this poor white class starting to feel more equal, even though that equality doesn't really exist. And now we're going to move to our very last passage, which is written by Barbara Fields. And Barbara Fields has a lot of ideas about the relationship between liberty and equality and racism and how those two things go together. This is, again, a longer passage, so we are going to take 7 minutes to read and annotate. So 7 minutes to read and annotate the Fields passage. Please chat me if you have any questions. 7 minutes, go ahead and get started. 4 more minutes. Three more minutes. Ninety more seconds. Great, and we are going to go ahead and pause there wherever you are reading. And I am going to stamp something that's really important before we transition to our collab board in Nearpod. So according to Fields, her argument is that for freedom to exist, you need to create unfreedom or no freedom. So in order for some people to feel like they are free to do things, they have to be able to compare themselves to people that can't do anything. So equality and freedom require this idea of racism, or require this idea of slavery. So that way the poor whites can have that sense of, I don't have it as bad as these people, which means I have some form of equality that they will never have, which is why we can see the creation of race-based slavery. If we can direct our attention to the Nearpod, I have a collaboration board up. And I want to hear from you guys, what role did Bacon's Rebellion have on the creation of race-based slavery in the United States? So what role did Bacon's Rebellion have on the creation of race-based slavery in the United States? Take 90 seconds to go ahead and share your thoughts. Great responses so far. Great, make sure you heart each other's responses. Great, I'm really happy to see that we're seeing this connection between race and the creation of slavery. Awesome responses. Great, we are going to pause there. First, I really wanna, okay, there it is. I really wanna stamp some of these ideas. Specifically, Skyan mentions that Africans became hereditary slaves, which is something that had never existed before. I also see that Jalasia and Kamaya are looking at the creation of slavery to separate the poor whites and from the Africans. Everybody has some really great ideas. And we are going to transition to your exit ticket, which is a Google form. So once you submit the Google form, you are free to go. I will be grading this based off of accuracy. So please make sure you take your time and you thoroughly answer the questions. Go ahead and transition to your exit ticket now. Again, make sure you are writing thorough answers in your responses. Each response should be at minimum 2 complete sentences. Let's try to get this finished up in the next 2 minutes so you can get your full break. Shakeem, Alonzo, I have your responses.